Everyone who watched Game of Thrones made the same call. Daenerys snapped. She went mad. She became the villain. I believed it too, but I just rewatched the entire series, and something's wrong with that story. What if she was never a villain at all? What if the show handed us a tragedy and we called it evil because the truth was too uncomfortable to sit with? Strip away the dragonfire. Strip away the throne room ash. Look at the actual timeline of what happened to this woman. Everything she lost, everything she was promised, everything that was taken from her. A completely different picture shows up. Not a tyrant, not a mad queen, a person who was failed over and over by everyone around her until there was nothing left to lose. That changes everything. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you will never see Daenerys Targaryen the same way again. Here's something the show breezes past, and it matters more than anything that comes after. Daenerys didn't start as a conqueror. She started as a scared teenager sitting in her brother's shadow, sold like property to a man she'd never met in exchange for an army he needed to take back a throne she'd never even seen. She never had a childhood. She never had safety. From her very first scene, someone else owned her future. And what did she do with that? She learned Dothraki. She earned the love of her people. She freed slaves across 3 cities, one after another, and stayed to actually govern them instead of just marching west and taking what she wanted. That version of Daenerys, the one building something, the one actually trying, most people forget her completely by season 8, because the ending is so loud it drowns everything out. But she was never just hungry for power. She genuinely believed she was supposed to build a better world, break the wheel, not just sit on top of it. That belief is where this whole story lives, because what the show actually gave us was a portrait of what happens when someone who desperately wants to be good keeps getting punished for it. And that's when things start to get dark. Before Daenerys ever touched King's Landing, before a single civilian died, she had already lost more than most people could survive once. Her brother. Cruel, yes. Abusive, yes. But still the only family she'd ever known. Gone. Her husband Drogo. The one relationship where she found something real, something mutual. Gone. Her unborn son. Gone. The same night. She was alone in a desert with a handful of exhausted followers and nothing else. And she rebuilt anyway. Then she finally reaches Westeros, the place she was promised her entire life, the whole point of everything. And what does she find? Nobody wants her there. The lords don't trust her. The people don't love her, not the way they love Jon. And the man she fell for, the first person in Westeros who felt like an equal, turns out to be her nephew and the actual heir to everything she came to claim. That's not a bad week. That's every foundation cracking at the same time. And here's what the show rushes past. By the time she realizes it, there's no one left in her corner who isn't lying to her, managing her, or leaving. That detail matters more than any dragon. This is the part I couldn't stop thinking about. Every single person Daenerys trusted either died, betrayed her, or quietly started working against her. And it happened so gradually that by the time she noticed, it was already done. Jorah, gone. Missandei, her closest friend, the one person who chose her freely and stayed, executed in front of her, used as a message, as a weapon. Rhaegal, her dragon, her child, shot out of the sky without warning. One moment he's there, next moment he's falling into the ocean, and there's nothing she can do. Think about what that does to a person. Not a villain, not a conqueror, just a person. You lose everyone, one by one, and the people still around you are either keeping secrets or quietly shifting their loyalty somewhere else. Jon knew his true identity and said nothing for weeks. Varys was already writing letters. Sansa was already calculating. Tyrion, the advisor she trusted most, kept making decisions that cost her everything and faced 0 consequences. She was surrounded by people and completely alone at the same time. There's actually a name for that feeling. Being in a room full of people who've already decided something about you and haven't told you yet. It's one of the most destabilizing things a human being can experience. Daenerys was living inside that, with no one left to call. I want to stop here, because this is the piece that gets skipped in every conversation about Daenerys. We talk about her decisions, the bells, the burning, the choice she made over King's Landing. We almost never talk about what her nervous system had been through by the time she got there. Grief does something specific to people. When loss keeps hitting before you've processed the last one, something shifts. Not into madness, not into evil, into a place where the normal emotional breaks just aren't accessible anymore, where a person operates from raw feeling instead of measured thinking. Daenerys had no normal days, not one. From the moment she landed in Westeros, permanent crisis mode, constant threat, constant loss, constant pressure to perform strength she didn't always have. And the people around her kept asking for more. Keep it together. Don't be your father. Show restraint. Be the right kind of queen. Nobody asked how she was doing. Nobody sat with her in the grief. Missandei was the closest thing she had to that, and they executed Missandei in front of her. There's no recovering from that cleanly. There's no bouncing back with a clear head. What happened at King's Landing wasn't madness arriving. It was everything arriving, all at once, with nobody left to hold any of it with her. Let's talk about the moment everyone points to. The bells ring. King's Landing surrenders. It's over. And Daenerys burns the city anyway. That's the moment the internet closed the case. Mad Queen. Villain confirmed. Done. But sit inside that moment with her, not as a viewer watching from above, as someone who just lived through everything we've talked about. She's on her dragon above a city protecting the woman who executed her best friend, the woman who destroyed her alliances, turned her allies cold, and watched from behind walls while Daenerys lost 2 of her children in this war, one to the Night King, one to Cersei Scorpions. The bells ring, and Cersei is still in that castle. I'm not saying what she did was right. What happened to those civilians was devastating. Nothing justifies it. But here's the question nobody asks. What was she supposed to feel in that moment? Relief? Mercy? Toward the city shielding the person who systematically dismantled everything she had left? That's not a villain making a calculated evil choice. That's a traumatized, isolated, grieving person hitting a wall that had been building for years. The bells didn't break her. Everything before the bells broke her. The bells just removed the last reason she had to hold it together. That's a completely different story than the one we told ourselves. Drop a comment. What do you think broke her first? Here's what really got me. Daenerys didn't invent the rules of the world she was living in. She was handed them. And those rules said power only respects power. Mercy gets read as weakness. A woman on a throne has to work 10 times harder just to be taken half as seriously as the man standing next to her. Look at Jon Snow. Jon burned people. Jon made unilateral decisions that cost lives. Jon ignored counsel and followed his gut. Every single time, the narrative treated him as noble. Daenerys does the same things, and she's dangerous. She's her father's daughter. She's the thing they always feared. She absorbed that double standard her entire journey. Every room she walked into, people were already afraid of her, not because of anything she'd actually done, just because of who she was. And fear that size, aimed at you constantly, changes how you move through the world. You either shrink or you decide to become exactly what they're afraid of. She chose the second one. And the tragedy is the system left her almost no space for a third option. She was handed a broken world and told to fix it without breaking anything. And when she finally broke, after everything, everyone pointed at the breaking and said, "See, we knew it all along." That's not a villain origin story. That's what happens when a system decides someone is dangerous before they've done a single thing to prove it.
Here's the part that genuinely breaks my heart. Daenerys never wanted to burn the world. That's the version people remember. It's not where she started. It's not even close. What she wanted was embarrassingly simple for someone with 3 dragons and an army behind her. She wanted to belong somewhere, She wanted a home. She wanted to be loved by people who chose her freely, not people who feared her or needed something from her. She said it herself, more than once, across seasons. She didn't want subjects. She wanted people who actually believed in what she was building. And for a brief window, she had that in Essos. The freed slaves who called her Misa, people who genuinely saw her as something different from every ruler before her. That meant everything to her. Westeros never gave her that. Westeros gave her suspicion, political calculation, a throne that felt cold before she ever sat in it. And underneath all the fire, the war, the final terrible choice, she was still looking for the same thing that scared teenager wanted when she was being sold into marriage. A place where she was actually wanted. Nobody in that entire story ever gave her that. Not once. That's not evil. That's one of the loneliest character arcs ever written. Here's where everything comes together, and here's why the label we gave her actually matters. When we call Daenerys a villain, we close the conversation. Villain means the story is simple. Villain means she deserved what she got. Villain means we don't have to sit with the uncomfortable truth that the system around her was just as responsible as any choice she made. But call her tragic, and something opens. Tragic means she had everything it took to be exactly who she wanted to be. The intelligence, the conviction, the genuine desire to build something better. And the world around her methodically dismantled every single support she had until the person she was trying to be became impossible to sustain. That's not a story about corruption. That's a story about cost, about what it costs a person when loss keeps arriving and nobody helps them carry it. And here's why this hits differently than any standard villain arc. Nothing about her ending felt inevitable from the beginning. It felt earned by circumstances, which is so much harder to watch. A villain you fear, a tragic figure you grieve. And if we're being honest, most of us were grieving in those final episodes, even while we were horrified. Because underneath the fire, we still remembered who she was trying to be. That grief is the whole point. That grief is the writers telling you this wasn't supposed to end this way, and it didn't have to. Here's what I keep coming back to. The most tragic thing about Daenerys Targaryen isn't the burning. It's that she was the only person in that entire story who genuinely believed a better world was possible. Everyone else was playing the game, moving pieces, protecting their house, their name, their position. She actually believed it could be different. And Westeros ate that belief alive, slowly, methodically, loss by loss, betrayal by betrayal, until the woman standing on that dragon above King's Landing shared almost nothing from the teenager who just wanted a home. That gap between who she was and who she became, that's the tragedy, not the fire. The fire was just the visible part. The real damage happened in all the quiet moments nobody made into a scene. Every time she was failed and had to absorb it alone. Every time she asked for loyalty and got calculation instead. She wasn't born a villain. She was built into one by a world that was terrified of her before she gave them a single real reason to be. And if that doesn't make you feel something, I don't know what will. If you still call her the Mad Queen after all of this, send this to someone who does. Let them sit with it. And if you want more deep dives that completely reframe characters like this, subscribe, because we're just getting started.